Hi, I'm Paul Jermain, and welcome to another session of Smart Boating. As you know, if you've watched the show before, we cover a variety of topics, from hurricane protection to man overboard, and the general idea is to provide you with information that you'll find helpful to making smarter decisions and have more fun on the water. But every now and then we take a little side trip, and that's the case today, because the focus of today is on Christmas gifts. And joining me is a very experienced boatsman to help guide us through that process. His name is Edward Cushing. Welcome, Edward.
Thank you, Paul. Thanks for having me again.
Great to see you again. Edward, you know, we got a fun show today. The weather's a little cool out, so you can't do much boating, but it's the season for boating gifts. But before we get into that, can you share a little bit about your boating background?
Well, I guess in a nutshell, I've hung around boats my whole life. I've done a number of offshore passages. I did even a couple of transatlantic crossings. And as you know, I've just done what one does when you have a boat, and just enjoy it.
Yeah, you got a pretty good sized boat now, right? You've had it for a number of years.
I have a 41-foot sloop that my brother and I share.
Right.
Green Dragon.
Green Dragon, yeah. So you've got a lot of experience in the water, so you'll recognize good boat ideas when you see them.
Well, Paul, it's always been a real treat to come on this show because it gets me all primed up for next season.
Right, exactly. Well, you got the experience, so why don't we get into the show, because we got a lot to cover.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So we've got here on this is kind of our display rack, if you will, some ideas. I want to make a couple points here first, though, before we get too far into it. One is that we're going to show a sampling of all the great variety of ideas. And two, the products that we show, there's other manufacturers out there that make products just like them. So it's not talking about these specific products, but we're talking about them as examples of products that boaters would find helpful or fun. So with that in mind, when I think about, we're moving into winter, can't go out in the boat. So what I like and what I think is a good Christmas gift are printed materials like magazines and books and so on. And we've got some here on display. The first one's Boating Magazine. That's actually my personal magazine. As you know, I tend to be a little bit more on the power boating side, and that has a lot of power boating articles. So I like that one. So that's a good idea, right?
It is, absolutely.
Yeah, and we've got some other ones there. If you slide that one over, we've got Soundings. Now, Soundings is a little more balanced, right? It's got power and sail and what's going on in the boating community. So that's a good overview one.
Absolutely. They all have lots of ideas.
Yes.
Especially around that fire in the middle of winter when you're
you have no choices.
thinking of warm water.
Let's talk. And then this last one here, you're a sailor, right? And so there's a few different sail magazines out. This is an example.
Yes, this always gets me into trouble, these magazines.
Why is that?
Too many good ideas.
Too many good ideas? All right. Well, I think those are all good. And they're not very expensive, probably $12 to get a subscription or something like that. Now, we've got another example of printed material. This happens to be a book on fishing, but it could be on piloting. It could be on Herreshoff. It could be on Blackburn. A lot of different boating-related books. What do you think about that as a Christmas idea?
Well, I think for fishermen, it's great.
Yeah. And you and I could probably learn some things from that, right?
I'm sure I could. Definitely.
All right. Now, here's another book, and this is like the mother of all books, right? This is the Bible, a boater's Bible, and this covers just such a wide variety of topics. This is the 67th edition.
Right, and they don't get any lighter either. They've been just getting bigger.
I think they add a few pages, right? Because it's comprehensive, right? So I know when I've taken power squadron classes in the past, this is the book they refer to. Has that been your experience too?
Yeah, well, this is the encyclopedia of all things boating.
Yes. Yeah, so from rules of the road to piloting in rough weather, charts, all that 9 yards. And this is a great, if you're going to get one book for a boater, this is probably the book to get, right?
Yeah, this is your lifetime book.
Yes, yeah, okay. Now, the books can get more specialized. This one here, I know I don't use it too much, but I know you do. Can you talk a little bit about it?
Well, Eldridge is a compilation of many tides and currents in different parts of the geography of the Northeast, be it Woods Hole running the gauntlet there by the Elizabethan Islands, or the Cape Cod Canal, which way the tide is flowing at what time of day,
Yeah.
to down in Long Island Sound, and then further east, down East Maine.
Yeah.
So it isn't something you use for necessarily charting, but when you're in those tidal regions and you're sailing, current is your friend when you're going with it, and not so friendly when you have to fight it.
Right.
So this helps you
This
sort
tells
of
you
load the dice a little bit more in your favor.
the scoop is, okay. Now, as we move from magazines to books and stay within the printed, you were just talking about tides and currents and so on. You know, in contrast to the land environment, the ocean environment is constantly shifting. So I think a good gift could be some updated charts because, again, they don't always stay in the same place, right?
Yes, well, you know, Manchester Harbor, they're dredging the harbor this year, 25 years later than they should. But it has all these depths in here will be substantially greater after they get that done.
Yeah.
But these are waterproof charts, so you can lay them out, and as long as you have them ballasted so they don't blow away, they're really good.
That's nice to have. How about this guy? I like this. You know, oftentimes you get out there and even if you're well versed in whether it's the rules of the road or lighting or that sort of thing, sometimes it's easy to get confused, or especially for an inexperienced boater. And this basically consolidates all that information onto a single laminated sheet.
Right. Well, I have a 50-ton captain's license, and this kind of is like your cue card for all of the things you need to be aware of, and the lighting on barges and tugboats and things at night can be quite intimidating. So
yes,
knowing the sequences and patterns, or having something like this to look at, gives you a lot more confidence.
Yes, yes, yes. And there's one thing I wanted to mention before we move this is it's just that we don't have any examples here, really good ones today, but applications for your smartphone, for your tablet. That's another source of information, you know, whether it's weather or
Tides,
gas docks, accommodations, all that sort of stuff. So that can be another informational tool that's a good gift, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's say we make it through the winter, which is our intent, right? Then maybe we put these products here in front like that. In spring, you got to clean up the boat. At least I know I do. You know, you got to wash the boat, you got to wax the boat, and if you got teak on it, which many boats do, you have to deal with the teak. Now, I think items like this make a nice present because there's no way that a boater can steer around them. You have to use the products, and they can add up. You know, like the wax is like $25. It's good wax, but I think even though it's small and doesn't seem that impressive, I think it can make a nice gift.
Yes. Well, they're all quite functional. They are functional and useful.
Everyone's going to need them. Right.
Exactly.
Right. Well, let's slide those out of the way. Okay. We'll talk about another thing that people need. Well, at least around here they do. They need paint. And what's happened with paint over the years is that, you know, there's always been a hard paint or an ablative paint, but recently they've come up with copper-free paint. So that helps keep the growth off the boat, but it doesn't kill all the wildlife beneath the boat when the copper fades out. So I think it's a great choice for anti-fouling, but they tend to be a little on the pricey side. So this little can here is about $85, $90. So again, it seems to me that might be a good gift for a boater.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, painting. I've gone to painting the bottom of the boat every other year because that's how you can stretch it out a little bit.
Right, and they're actually designed for multi-seasons, and oftentimes you can get away with making the smile on the boat right around the water line because that's where you get the growth because it's got the oxygen in the water. Where further down the hull, you don't get the growth so much.
Right, you know.
So good paint, multi-season, but pricey, and you know, a boater can really appreciate that. So again, the normal sequence of stuff around here in the Northeast is winter, you can't go boating. Spring, you get the boat ready. And summer, you hit the water, right? And in recent years, like so many subjects, there's been a greater awareness of health and skin cancer and the effects of having your skin unexposed. So I see a lot of people using high SPF suntan lotions. But what's interesting is now they're making clothing with SPF. Like this one here, this piece of clothing here is a long sleeve shirt. That's an SPF 50. I think that could make a very good gift for a lot of people going boating, don't you?
Absolutely. I gave my partner one last year when we went south for a week's cruising, and this you can wear swimming or just sitting in the cockpit, or so you're not getting over sun exposed, but you don't have quite the greasy feeling because you don't necessarily have to put suntan lotion all over yourself or after you've been in the water.
Right, and you can get this in shorts, and it just doesn't come in a long sleeve shirt, right? You can get a variety of clothing with the different SPFs on it.
Right.
I think we're going to see more and more of that people say, geez, this is an easy way to keep myself safe from the sun. Price-wise, I think they're a little more expensive, but I think the trade-off between the higher price and the protection, a lot of people will like that.
Well, that sunburn can be a price you never really want to pay.
Right, yeah. And another thing I see is not only SPF, but also layering, as you know, can be a good idea. So again, other articles of clothing I think can be a good Christmas gift as well, because of this need to build up in light layers so you can easily adjust to the weather conditions, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about eye protection here for a minute. I don't know, you watch a TV show and the 6-year-old, she's got her little shades on there, right? But she might be at the playground or she might be in the woods or something like that, and there's not a lot of glare. In contrast, when you're on the ocean or skiing, you get a lot of reflected glare off the surface, right? Whether it's the snow or the sun. So I think that makes good eyewear much more important than it would be in many situations.
Well, sunglasses come in a variety of price points and quality.
Yeah.
But the word polarized, excuse me.
Yeah.
Is the key word on any glass product that you're looking at.
Yes.
Because those will give you your best eye protection,
right,
which is really the whole point of sunglasses.
Which is key. Yeah, I know. I find if I go boating in the middle of summer, I don't wear eyeglasses. The sunglasses that my vision will be slightly blurry when I get off the water, and I get this from so much sunlight.
Exactly.
Yeah. So those can be a nice investment, and these come with cases and stuff. So again, a lot of people have trouble with the shelf life of their sunglasses, but the more expensive ones have
misplacing them.
right, and then sitting on them oftentimes. But these have a nice case, like most of the expensive glasses do. And again, that would typically be in a marine store as opposed to just a recreational store. So I think that's a great gift. Those are about $250. I found when I looked, it's a $250 to get a nice pair of sunglasses. Now, another thing that when you hit the waves is, it's the need to keep things either hot or cold. From my perspective, it's typically cold. So you're out there, it's a 90 degree day. My boat doesn't have a cover or anything, so you're out in the sun all the time. And it's nice to have a cold beverage or cold sandwiches or fruit on ice to help keep your body temperature in the right place. Do you find the same thing?
Yes, well, these products, they make everything from cups to various size containers.
Yeah.
And
this is fairly new. I think this just came out. I remember seeing it last year, right?
Right. I think last year we saw that they tend to be expensive.
Yes.
But I know the cups will hold ice for over 24 hours in a normal environment.
Really?
Not 120 degrees, but
yes,
70 or 80. In fact, the hard part or annoying part was when my hot coffee, it was still hot an hour later, so I'd always burn my tongue on it. Normally it cools down.
That can be a drawback. I see.
So,
Yeah.
but these are great for this. It contains your lunch, maybe a beer or two or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, a non-alcoholic
It's
beverage.
got
Now, got this special zipper on it, right? So that
and
helps
there's
keep
a
the
carrying
cold in.
strap inside that you can put so you can carry it kind of over your shoulder.
Right, and they've got different construction here in terms of the
They have
walls.
hard cases.
And inside they had that
It's sort of
slippery surface, for lack of a better term, make it easy to clean up, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's nice. These are about $200, so they're quite a step up from a traditional cooler. But the people that get them really swear by them. They really like them.
And you don't necessarily need to put much ice in here because the goods that hopefully some of them are already cold.
Yeah.
And it will maintain that temperature for at least the afternoon, if
Right.
not late into the evening.
Easily. Okay, well, let's look at our next item here. We're going to have to tilt this a little bit so we can keep it in the field of vision for the camera. This is a dry pack, and I think it's a great idea. I mean, one of the things with this particular one is it has vents on it so that you can squeeze the air out of it and roll it up tight so it can fit in a small area. But, many boats, particularly center consoles, if you're out in a chop, you're going to get a lot of spray going up and around the boat. So the idea of being able to have something that keeps everything that should be dry is really nice.
Yeah, well, it definitely, this looks pretty rugged, and
yeah,
it's got nice carrying straps on the backside, so it is just like a backpack.
Right, it's got some pockets in the front there.
It's got 2 pockets.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good.
Yeah, I can see more and more of these. These are becoming very popular, apparently. I hadn't seen them historically, but it's a pretty new item on the boating scene.
Most backpacks are cloth, and this is...
Yes, like a canvas.
Yeah, it's waterproof.
This is like a diver's material, almost like a diver's material. Yep. That's nice. I think we're going to see a lot of those on the water this summer. Tools are a big thing, on the water. I know I try to carry a fairly complete toolkit because I like to be prepared. Oftentimes it's just something small. A screw came loose, a bolt fell off, something like that. And with having some tools on board, you can take care of it and get back to port. But you don't necessarily need a full tool bag if you use a multifunction tool like this, right?
Yes, well, there was a time when you just carried your knife and maybe a pair of pliers in a little holster on your hip.
Right.
And now you have, on this item, it's got its own holster so that you can fold all of this up and put it on your hip, and it doesn't take up any real room.
Yes.
But it gives you all of the advantages of, from screwdrivers to cutters to pliers.
I think it has like 12 functions on it.
Yeah, and it's almost reasonable.
Yeah, right. Well, and you get so many tools out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's a good one. One that I like, this is one of my favorites, actually. It's such a simple thing, and I think it makes a great Christmas gift, is what they call a rigging knife. And the difference between this and many other knives is it has a serrated blade. And I like it because if I'm running along and I get caught around it, whether a lobster pot line or another line, more often than not, I don't have a lot of time. I don't have power, I don't have steerage. I need to untangle quickly. And a knife like this with a serrated edge, I found to be the key to getting back into a safe situation. Do you use knives like this?
I do.
Yeah.
And I think that, they have multiple uses in all kinds of emergencies or otherwise.
Yeah. I just think the serrated knife is the way to go in most applications.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great gift. Here's one that people might not have thought of, and quite frankly, I wouldn't have thought of it a year or two ago, but it's referred to by different things, self-adhesive tape, rescue tape, that sort of thing. And what it does is the tape sticks to itself, or most tape sticks to the object. So let's say you had a hose that busted a seam. If you put regular tape around it, the tape's trying to adhere to the hose. But this type tape, this actually adheres to itself. So what that makes it able to do is better adhesion on a lot of surfaces. So I know I keep a couple rolls of this on board my boat. Have you used this at all?
I haven't yet, but I usually have the what they call the high-speed tape, which is those big fat rolls. And this is much more compact, fits in a toolkit or a storage area,
Yeah.
and performs many, if not exceeds, the functions of what the traditional tape people might use.
Yeah, it's a real step up. It's a real step up. Well, let's take a look at another thing that I like. And again, some of these come out of just our background in boating, right? So I find you almost constantly need a flashlight on a boat because there are places in the bilge or in the cabin that you can't see even when it's regular daylight out. And more often than not, if you get into a pinch, it's probably dark and stormy. And so you need something, and you need something that's waterproof, right?
Right. Well, it's, the new lights are all LED bulbs, so your battery or power drawdown is really minimal.
Yes.
And so you can really use this for anything. If your running lights on your boat fail, you can use that as light. You can use it to shine up on the mast to look at whatever it is that may be making strange noises up there.
Yes.
And, you can't lose it with this color.
No. And it's not much money. Like $30, this is like, in my opinion, a must-have, which makes it a great Christmas gift. The other thing we saw the other day, you and I were looking at some ideas, was this mount for a cell phone. And you might think, well, what big deal. But more and more people bring their cell phones, and we talked earlier about the apps. So it's nice to have a way to securely mount that cell phone to basically the dash, right?
Yeah, it's a sticky part for the dash, and then there's a magnetic mount. So all you have to do is stick the phone to it. You don't have to put it into a holster or anything else.
Right. And really every time you go boating, you see people with their cell phones. So I think this is going to become more and more popular too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Safety is a big thing, Edward, as you know and I know. And so the Coast Guard gives inspections, and you can get pre-Coast Guard inspections. And they're looking for a variety of things. They're looking for your signaling devices, whether it's the horn, or they're looking for various life preservers, that sort of thing. And one of the things is flares. So you normally have a group of flares. And now the issue with flares is that they have an expiration date. And oftentimes when you buy them from the retailer, you're halfway to that expiration date because it's only like 3 years. So this seems, my understanding, this is a brand new product that's going to help deal with that expiration issue, right?
Well, it's been Coast Guard approved, so that gives you a leg up.
Yep.
A typical flare kit is 6 shells, so you only have 6 30-second chances to be seen,
Right.
Whereas this will run for, I believe it says 24 hours.
Yeah, at least
It is
that.
it
At
is
least
a
that,
strobe.
Yes.
So it puts out a flash on one of my boats.
Yeah. I think the range is up to 10 miles.
Right. Well, one of my transatlantic boats had a strobe at the top of the mast.
Yes.
So it gives you a real bright light and can be seen on a black ocean pretty readily. So
Yeah.
this is my Christmas gift to myself this year.
This is a great gift, and this is brand new. So I think
and they
people are
float.
gonna like that. Yeah,
So
that is nice.
it's all good.
Here's another one that, again, this might be off the radar screen of some people, but the reason I wanted to bring on the show was that I know a lot of people that go fishing by themselves, and they might go out quite some distance, and the traditional EPIRBs are mounted to the boat sinks, the EPIRB sends up a signal, and everyone knows time to go get the boater because the boat's gone. But oftentimes a fisherman can be out there, they might hit a wave wrong or be leaning wrong. They go overboard, the boat's fine, but the boat keeps sailing away. Now no one knows that fisherman's in the water, and that's a bad situation. So I'm like, this is a personal locator beacon for about $450, and that takes that off the table, because once the fisherman goes in the water, this sends a signal to the satellite. And I just think the increase of safety is just measurable.
It's when you're in the water in these parts of the world, you really have a limited time before hypothermia takes over. So every second truly does count.
Yeah. So this is a nice tool. I can see, again, anyone that's doing solo boating, power or sail, this is a great gift. You know, one of the other things we talk about, we've talked about it here before, in terms of safety, I think probably the highest causal effect for fatalities in boating is lack of life preservers. I'm pretty sure that that's the case. And historically, the issue has been that they've been too bulky, so people didn't want to wear them. They didn't wear them, they fell overboard, they drowned. Then they came out with inflatables that I know you have and I have,
Right.
which are great because they lay
called
flat to your
vests,
body.
right.
Yeah, the vest. But this is nice because this is good for a stand-up paddleboarder. This is good for a kayaker. There's a lot of applications for this, right?
Yeah, this is my other Christmas gift.
Right. This wraps right around you like a fanny pack almost, but it's in your stomach.
Right.
And it's a Coast Guard approved, right?
Right. Well, and you wear it all the time, so it's not in the way. It just becomes part of the territory.
Right.
Because most of the time you fall overboard when you least expect it.
Right.
It's not like you can plan it.
Right. So I like this. I think people that, again, are participating in different sports, it's about $100, short money, for a nice way to be safe.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now this is an interesting idea, and we actually showed this last year, right? So the idea is that historically you had a mask and a snorkel, and they're fooling around with all the different pieces.
Full vision
This
cover.
integrates the two.
Yeah, I got
Right?
one of these last year,
Yeah,
and my partner really loved it.
yeah. So
Really
you've had
great.
good experience with this, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's an integrated mask and snorkel. Yeah, that's a nice gift. That's about $100, and I think from your experience, worth every penny, right?
Oh yeah, but you got much wider vision. You don't feel claustrophobic because you're not all, and you don't have to have a separate mouthpiece for the snorkel.
Yeah, I think we're going to find these more and more popular.
Yep.
Yep. You know, Edward, I've been boating a long time, and when I started boating, well, let's just say a long time ago, there wasn't much music on the water. You go out and there were seagulls and there were fish jumping and that sort of thing, but there wasn't a lot of music. And I've seen the trend over the years, more and more boaters are bringing music with them. But of course, it's a harsh environment, right? You get water and that sort of thing. And this is one of the latest ways to bring music with you, right?
Bluetooth.
Yeah, Bluetooth. So what's the advantage of the Bluetooth on this?
It's wireless.
Wireless, right.
So you can transmit from your phone, most likely, and then this is what you have to work with. It's a great thing. You can adjust the volume on there.
Right. Yeah. So the Bluetooth and the waterproof, those are two key things. And I think
Right.
we're going to see a lot of those on the water. I want to just talk briefly about two more items, Edward. They're VHFs. This one has a DSC, and this one is simply a floating one. Again, DSC means you push a button, satellite signal, they know where you are.
It tells you. The Coast Guard gets calls all the time saying, I'm stuck out on the water, and they ask, well, where are you? And they have no idea where they are.
Right. So if you leave it in the hands of proven technology like this,
This is a great aid for them finding you.
it's a good way to go, yeah.
And this is something you need to have, regardless of how good your cell phone is, it's still a cell phone.
Right.
And they don't have cell phone towers 10 miles out at sea.
They don't. Edward, I mean, it's tough to believe, but we're out of our time for our show today. We've covered a lot of ground. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap it up?
No, I think you always have a great selection of gifts for this holiday season, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you, Smart Boating viewers, for joining us. If you have questions or comments, please share them with us at www.smartboatingus.com. Thank you.